Black Power, Black Nationalism by Alex Fowler. The complaints in the civil rights movement were segregation of schools, bathrooms, drinking fountains, buses, and restaurants. Another complaint was discrimination. The leaders of the civil rights movement included Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Stokely Carmichael. Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton were the founders of the Black Panther Party for Defense. Martin Luther King Jr. was fond of Gandhi's philosophy. The nonviolent means to achieve civil rights reform were speeches, marches, sit-ins, and protests. Malcolm X was a civil rights activist, as well as a key spokesman for the Nation of Islam. Eventually, he grew tired of peaceful protest and believed some violence was necessary for anything to get accomplished. Stokely Carmichael was the chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC. He was credited for popularizing the term Black Power. In 1966, he moved away from nonviolent strategies such as speeches. The Black Panthers evolved in Oakland. Led by Huey P. Newton, a radical and a nationalist, as well as Bobby Seale, a soldier in the struggle against inequality, the Black Panthers were willing to use violence to get what they desired: equality in education, housing, employment, and civil rights. The methods of protest included boycotts, sit-ins, marches, and picketing. The most famous boycotts took place in New Orleans, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Montgomery, Alabama. This was sparked by Rosa Parks' refusal to give her seat up to a white man. Sit-ins were commonly found at lunch counters, parks, beaches, libraries, theaters, museums, and other public places. Most of them were initiated by the COAHR. One of the most famous sit-ins was in Greensboro, North Carolina, at Woolworth's lunch counter. Another form of protest was marching. The two most famous marches were the Selma to Montgomery March for Freedom and the March on Washington, for Jobs and for Freedom. The outcomes of the civil rights movement were the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 and 1968, which outlawed major forms of discrimination and allowed equal housing opportunities. In 1965, the Voting Rights Act came into effect by abolishing literacy tests and poll taxes. In 1954, the Supreme Court ruling in Brown versus the Board of Education resulted in the prevention and prohibition of segregation in schools.